right, I'm gonna hit record here. Recording.
Go.
What is up, freaks? It's your boy Marty Bent here for another rabbit hole recap. I'm pretty jacked up this week, Matt. Matt, you are at an undisclosed location. Looks beautiful.
It is beautiful down here. I'm very excited this week.
That's why Matt was a little delayed on his travels. Why we're starting a little late this week. He's got a fun night ahead of him, and so we're just gonna rip it. We're gonna rip into it. What is your vibe like right now? Have you had any drinks yet?
Yes. I should probably drink less, and I'm working on that, freaks.
Did you get called out?
I mean, no, not necessarily, but I'm calling myself out.
That's good. It's good to keep yourself in check.
Yeah. So Odell's calling Odell out. The big thing for me this week, I mean, I guess let's just jump right into it, is this Marathon Patent Holding Group's so-called clean block mining. They mined their first OFAC, quote unquote, compliant block today.
Yes, it was the subject of today's bent. And that'll be our first subject. Let's just go through the dashboards and we'll jump right into that.
Let's do it.
I've got a lot to say about that too. We could go on. I think that might take like at least 20 minutes to get through it. According to Clark's dashboard, pretty close to the crypto watch price right now. We're $56,360. One cuck buck's going to get you 1,774 sats. Current market cap is 1 trillion, 1.05 trillion. What else do we got here? We're at block height 682,278. 89.06% of every Bitcoin that will ever be mined has been mined. That's 18,701,648.00. Nice even number of Bitcoin on the market right now. We're going to start talking about this stat. We're going to talk about this subject too, more in length later. But Taproot activation state has started. Epoch block signal, number of blocks 290 in this epoch. That's 14.4% of the last 2016 blocks. Higher percentage of the difficulty adjustment epoch. We'll get into the distinction there later. We had that big difficulty adjustment, and now blocks are coming in at 8 minutes and 21 seconds on average. We adjusted down 12.6%. We talked about that last week, and now the next adjustment is in 1,146 blocks. That's estimated to be on May 14th, and that will be a 19.7% upward adjustment. So pretty volatile difficulty over the last two adjustments, down 12.6% as of right now. Next one will be up 19.7%, and I think that will be more accurate than the prediction of 25% down 2 weeks ago. Fees are going up. Pending fees are 1.97 BTC in the mempool and Clark's mempool. Estimated fee versus reward next block is 7.34%. Samurai unspent capacity liquidity is 2,252.59 Bitcoin, or 127 million cuck bucks. That's pretty static since the last time we talked about that. And those are the stats of the Bitcoin network right now. We got BISC trading at a $1,730 premium currently. Woo! Taking the jacket off. Let's jump into Marathon. All right, so for any of you freaks who are not aware, Marathon Holdings, Digital Holdings, is the company. They're a publicly traded Bitcoin mining company. I think they're patent trolls as well. And
that's the name.
Right? And they made they didn't make an announcement earlier today. Within the last 24 hours, they mined a block. Their mining pool mined its first block. And in the Coinbase transaction, they left the message, Mara, which is their pool OFAC compliant block. This is something we've been talking about on RHR for quite some time. It started back in last September when SLIC, SLIC, it was some sort of consortium that was going to get together and create a mining pool that was OFAC and regulatory KYC AML compliant. We shit on them pretty hard back then. Marathon has been posturing like this in recent months, and this was the first block they mined. And so, yeah, they think that they're mining OFAC compliant blocks. I'll let you start, Matt, and I know I have plenty to add on to it.
Well, that's an interesting framing that you said they think they're mining OFAC compliant blocks. I guess that begs the question: what is an OFAC compliant block?
Is it possible to have an OFAC compliant block? Right. And so the intention or the idea behind an OFAC compliant block is that they're producing blocks that don't interact with bad addresses that have been labeled, listed by OFAC, or aren't compliant with OFAC rules. It's very hilarious, very ironic, because our boy Laurent was working with the Samurai team and he built oxt.me, used oxt.me. They used some heuristics to discern big addresses, big wallets, and try to connect them to entities. And it turns out that the OFAC block, compliant block that Marathon Pool mined, actually had 2 transactions that went to the Hydra market, the darknet market, within the block. Did you see that?
No, I missed that completely. I mean, I saw some people were sending them taint after the fact, but this was before the fact. This was
literally the block they mined. Laurent looked it up. Had 2 transactions that were sent, like they were sent to wallets owned by the darknet market, Hydra, in Russia,
which is the largest darknet market and has historically been Bitcoin only, which are 2 interesting aspects. The cool thing about Hydra has always been that instead of shipping drugs or whatnot is being sold on the darknet market, they use like coordinates. So it's, like your package is located underneath this bench at these coordinates, which I always thought was interesting. Yeah, I mean, with this, I don't think, I don't know if the correct argument is like, oh, like you're not perfectly compliant. I think the offense to Bitcoin is attempting it in the first place, right? Like attempting to categorize, transactions by this transaction is an okay transaction and this transaction is not an okay transaction, is an attack on the Bitcoin network, period. If you're not just going based on fees, you're using an external method to try and determine which transaction can be confirmed and which can't be confirmed.
Agreed. It's an attack on Bitcoin, but I think it's a pretty weak attack because once you dive into the details, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly that what they're trying to do is literally impossible. And so I put a great thread from an individual named Jay Beddick in the Bent today, and he basically lays this out. I'll just read some of the thread right now, but the concept of a compliant block is a fundamental misunderstanding of the protocol. If you mine on top of a block, you secure all previous transactions a little bit more, regardless if you include non-compliant transactions in your block or not. Since a compliant miner is using an address blacklist, a non-compliant transaction involves an address that previously transacted before the block a compliant miner is mining. Thus, even in attempting to avoid securing the non-compliant transactor's latest transaction in their block, they are securing the previous non-compliant transaction by simply participating in the same blockchain. Said another way, before even considering if such a miner would mine on top of a non-compliant block, after they mine the first block, this miner is securing the non-compliant transactor's transactions by simply coming to the table. So this whole idea of OFAC compliant not including transactions in your block, it's cute, but it doesn't hold up to snuff and actually deterring any of this. You're actually securing transactions that happened in the past and making them more secure by adding a block. And then if you were going to say, all right, moving forward, we won't do that, you have to hope that you have enough hash rate and you probabilistically mine enough blocks in a row to rework the chain every time there's a transaction included in a block that is considered unsavory by the regulators that these groups are trying to appease. Excuse me. So I think this was nothing more than a virtue signal, an attempt to create a premium on the Bitcoin that they're mining by saying we're OFAC compliant. I mean, the fact that they had 2 transactions out of 127 that were included in the whole block go to Hydra is fucking hilarious. And then on top of that, if they want to be a legitimate mining pool and actually a mass hash rate, number one, don't attack Bitcoin. Miners are not going to join your pool. And number two, you better optimize for fees better, because they only accumulated 5 million sats worth of fees in that block, which is considerably lower than the average. I believe the next block after that collected 0.31 31 million sats in fees compared to 5 million. So if you're going to run a successful pool, don't attack Bitcoin and make sure you're profitable. So it actually, if you are attacking Bitcoin, miners may want to join you because it may be profitable.
I mean, I guess it comes down to two things, right? It comes down to whether or not they can get that premium that they're trying to manufacture on their Bitcoin, and secondly, whether governments require this shit, right? Like, I mean, if I could at least see. I mean, and this is tangential to another topic we have on the list. I could at least see some states of the United States requiring you to use a pool like this. They might put that directly in the regulation. If you want to mine Bitcoin within our borders, then you have to use a compliant pool. And I don't think they give a shit if they're not perfectly compliant, as long as they try on a best case scenario, right? Best case basis.
Yeah, I'm getting yelled at for reading a dashboard and then a tweet, but miners will just move, especially if they're not profitable, right? They're obviously not as profitable as other mining pools, and again, you're attacking Bitcoin. Like, is the like, if a state does mandate that you have to use one of these pools and it destroys the value of Bitcoin at the end of the day, does it make sense to stay in that state? No. All it takes is one outside of Bitcoin, or excuse me, outside of that state to say, hey, we don't care. But again, I think we're getting too dirty into that game theory, too deep into that game theoretical situation. I think what we really need to do is just highlight how idiotic this is, because every block that you add is basically confirming past transactions. And so and then on top of that, you throw in fees, which
Like, you can't argue semantics against a fucking state, man. Like, if they're confirming on top of blocks and those blocks aren't clean, then they're not clean. Like, what, they're gonna try their best. Let's talk about.
But they're not even clean. Like, they sent two transactions, they like facilitated two transactions to Hydra, and then on top of that, so this is another thing related to this particular story, is our boy OXBTC1 0C. He came out with a tool called Mining Pool Observer that basically tries to discern whether or not mining pools are actively filtering transactions. And he said, using his tool, that it's apparent that in block 682.170, they weren't filtering. And you could tell because the leftover transactions had just entered his mempool within the last couple of minutes. So it wasn't like they were actively avoiding any transactions. It was nothing more than a virtue signal. Like, they didn't actively filter anything. So like, it was just a Coinbase virtue signal.
Yeah, I don't doubt that it's a virtue signal. I still think like it's the beginning of something. Like, let's talk about. I mean, I don't know if we have it on the list, but we should have it on the list if we don't. Let's talk about your favorite state of the union, New York, and what's like happening over there with regard to mining.
So New York State Senate has a, this is for different reasons why they have this on the floor. On the state Senate floor, there is a bill, very poorly written bill, I may add, a lot of typos. I mean, I'm not one to speak. I have a lot of typos in my content, and I can't speak too well. But with that being said, if you do attain the stature of a state senator and you're going to put a bill on the floor, you would at least assume that you'd have some aides or interns proofread for you before you put something on record. I believe the state senator, his last name is Parker or something like that, and he basically is asking for a 3-year moratorium on Bitcoin mining within New York State, and he's basically Um, he's saying for environmental reasons. It's Bitcoin mining, crypto mining, as he calls it, takes up a lot of energy. And due to the fact that New York is trying to reach CO2 emissions goals and wants to stay in line with the Paris Accord guidelines, that there needs to be a 3-year moratorium on Bitcoin mining to save the planet. So different angle.
Different angle, but like I could easily see I can easily see a law that says, you have to be a part of a compliant mining pool.
I could
And
easily see that too. I could easily see it be brought to the floor.
and it might not be perfect, right? But it could be they could have explicit heuristics that they decide that they're not going to mine.
Agree. But again, you just move your shit somewhere else. You think that's going to happen
Right.
globally?
No, I mean that's the key, right? The key is that as long as it doesn't happen globally, another miner will mine your transaction. And if it is happening at a wide scale, you can increase your fee, and maybe some small miner somewhere will take your transaction and mine it. And at scale, that results in that small miner or those small miners making significantly more money, right, than the so-called compliant miners. So long term, it shouldn't be sustainable, and that's the whole game theory aspect to it, right?
Yes. And I think we're actually, while we're on this tip, getting an example of the extreme that states would like to go to, which is Iran's central bank. Have you seen this yet? You've been traveling, I doubt it. Iran's central bank has declared that transactions of cryptocurrencies which were mined outside of Iran are forbidden. In Iran, one can only transact with locally mined bitcoins. Like,
What does that even mean?
exactly.
That came out today.
Today,
I
5
missed
hours
that.
ago. 5
That's a
hours.
weird one.
Yeah. So that's the extreme they'll take it to, right? And if you play the logical conclusion, Iran's central bank is just jumping straight to that, like only in our borders, only pure coins. Like, how do you identify that? Like,
Well, what they mean probably is they don't mean within their borders, because there's probably a considerable amount of miners that are illegally mining or like not registered mining in Iran, right? They probably mean like registered miners in their
well,
borders.
exactly,
Yeah.
and they can't stop. There's already people. So that's, again, that proves the point. Like, there's already people illegally mining in Iran, and still using Bitcoin. I think that
It's
would
probably
stop
the
here.
same as it's like the same as the Western countries, right? Like they just regulate it on the if there's any kind of banking relationships or something like that, it has to be with officially mined Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, they'll try, but how can
Yeah.
you ever? And again, transaction fees. There is a whole wrench into this. Like, you can never make sure that the transaction fees attached to a Coinbase reward and make up, or a Coinbase subsidy to make up the total reward, aren't tainted. Like, it's logistically impossible unless you want to mine blocks and not get the fees. But that's stupid. And again, you're going to become unprofitable to the point where you have to shut off your miners anyway. Did Satoshi create a perfect incentive system? I think he may have.
I mean, he definitely made a really fucking strong one.
Right.
But I
Okay.
still think I just think that even though like we should be able to rely on this game theory, it's important for Bitcoiners to realize that this is an attack. Like when we have a mining pool come in and say, we're in the United States, we're officially regulated, we're officially compliant, like their goal is going to be the same exact thing we saw with Chain Analysis and all the other fucking surveillance companies, which is they're going to lobby governments, they're going to lobby fucking senators and say, we need mining in America. And when that mining happens in America, it should happen in a compliant pool that loves America and stands for our ideals. And they're going to say this, and they're going to try and attract a bunch of different hash rate. And that is an attack. I don't think that attack will be successful. I think the game theory and the incentives stop it. I think Bitcoiners in general are adversarial and will not stand for that kind of thing, including miners. But still, it needs to be registered as an attack. I think it's very important that we sit here today and we register the fact that this was the first time. We've been talking about this for a long fucking time, and this is the first time that we had a so-called compliant regulatory block get mined.
Yeah. No, I think we're on it. We've been warning the freaks about this. Today's bent was about this. It is an attack. It is here. That's why I said in the bent, like, hey, you know what? Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe we just need to get this attack over with and deal with it. The earlier, the better, right? And so another thing to add to this too is almost 90% of the Bitcoin that will ever exist have been mined. So that's another beautiful thing about Bitcoin and its design is the steep supply distribution curve. Like that also gives us some shield as well, right? Like, so before these regulations, these strict bullshit regulations can get embedded into the protocol, we already have a significant amount of Bitcoin distributed to the network. Yeah, it's definitely an attack. But like, yeah, Great American Mining, we're laughing at Marathon today because we would never join their pool. And they've hit us up like, oh, would you think about it? Like, no, get the fuck out of here. Like, it's not. You talk to the Steve Barbers of the world, other miners out there. There's some base Bitcoin miners in North America that are never going to join a pool like this. If we have to, we'll create our own pool. We have to run. I won't speak for Todd and crew, but I would run and go somewhere else, take my capital, intellectual capital, and financial capital somewhere else and plug in somewhere else. These people can go fuck themselves. Again, all this shit is built on regulations that do more harm than good. Like that. So that's the message we have to get out there as well. With the message we've been beating home pretty aggressively is this shit is ineffective at the end of the day. And all it does is curtail innovation and prevent people from participating in economic systems and commerce that makes them better off. And all to stop a few bad actors as deemed by governments and regulators. And again, those laws, those regulations are subjective to the kleptocrats in power at any given point in time. Fight back, freaks.
Fuck yes.
So yeah, I mentioned it earlier, but 0xb10c on Twitter, pretty based developer. He was at Chain Code. I believe he was somewhere else as well. But again, he's got this miningpool.observer. Go check it out. He's monitoring whether or not pools are actively filtering transactions. And so that's like the thing. It's an attack today. Like, so like this was the shot across the bow. This was not the attack. The attack would be if they were actually filtering transactions, which they didn't do, which 0xb10c proved with his miningpool.observer tool. They didn't actually
Right. I mean, to be clear, and this is something that I think is important for people to realize considering Taproot signaling is in the news, is that miners can choose in their Coinbase tag what tag they put there. So that tag is not a verifiable thing. Anyone can put whatever they want to put there. When I say Coinbase, I don't mean the exchange. The exchange decided to take the term for the original transaction every time a block is mined, and that's the Coinbase transaction. And you can put a tag in there. And that tag is usually how we determine which mining pool is which. And historically, mining pools have been completely honest about it. They'll put whatever tag is in there. You know, we are F2 pool, or we are Binance pool, and that's how we can tell what the hash rate is, because we take that amount of signaling, and then we interpret it as the hash rate after the fact. Now, it's worth keeping in mind. There's other heuristics. Like sometimes they'll mine to the same addresses over and over again. So obviously it's probably the same pool, unless they want to lie and fund another pool just to like fuck around. But with this situation, it's exactly what Marty said. To me, it's not anything to do with the specific transactions. A miner in their fucking Coinbase tag fucking put, we are OFAC compliant. We are attempting to be OFAC compliant. That is the attack, right? It's like and it's like you said, it's almost like they're announcing it ahead of time, right? It's like old school warfare, right? Where they like blow the horn and wave the flag before they attack is kind of how it feels to me, right? It's like, we are OFAC compliant. We are proud of it. And if you want to join the best compliant mining pool of North America, we are that compliant pool, right? And that's the signaling that I see happening. And that's something that I think it's important for the community to push back on hard.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to see 40%, 35% of North American hash rate go over to this kind of pool and feel like they can do that without any kind of public pushback.
Yeah. Sit there with your dick in your hand, Marathon. We'll never be joining your pool at Great American Mining. I can tell you that for certain. And I'm not going to name names, but I've talked to other mining pools about this. And obviously, we talked to a lot of pools at Great American Mining, and like everyone except for these virtue signalers who I don't even think they care about OFAC. These people don't fucking care about being OFAC compliant. They want to be able to sell their coins for a premium, and they think doing this will allow them to do so. Every other mining pool that we've spoken with is like, no, we'll never do that. And again, laying out the reasons that I just did is it's literally impossible. Like, it's a bullshit marketing ploy. Like, you can never guarantee that at all. Just due to the nature of how Bitcoin, the protocol, works. Marathon Patent Group, you know what? Fuck you guys. Like, I got a lot to say. I can't say it on there, though. I can't say it on there.
I love the passion, Marty.
Dump their stock. Dump their stock. If you dump their stock, if you're out there and you're holding their stock because you're like doing like a Bitcoin mining play, dump their stock. Let them know. Fuck these people.
Not investment advice.
Ethical advice.
Okay, Marty, what's the next topic?
Where do we start here? Our list is all over the place today. Well, let's stay. We're mining pools. This is actually, you mentioned F2 pool earlier. F2 pool, Chun Wang from F2 pool announced earlier this week. Again, you just had to take his word for it, but I think I don't see why he would lie about this. Give me pushback if you think he would. But in April of this year, the first month of F2 pool's 8 years of operation, that they saw more hash rate emanating from countries outside of China than within. So the majority of hash rate on F2 pool in April was coming.
I don't believe him for a fucking second.
No, you don't believe him?
No, dude is a fucking player. Like, we're just trusting without verifying now.
You gotta verify. How can you verify, right?
We can't. So I don't believe it.
Well, it's a data point. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll say I wouldn't be surprised.
So F2 pool was like, they were the best at fucking around with signaling for SegWit last time around. And I believe he made a lot of money off of it because he controlled a large amount of Litecoin hash rate and a large amount of Bitcoin hash rate in terms of his pool operation. And he was like fucking around with signaling on both chains and like trading them at the same time. I'm pretty sure, like, because he was getting, and we're going to see this and everyone's going to act like so fucking surprised. Like, when we get around 90% threshold for Taproot signaling in any given difficulty period, which is how it's set up, you're going to see miners flip back and forth, and they're going to be playing the markets, and the markets are going to dump and go up, and you're going to see accounts on Twitter that are going to make it really
the market's
bullish.
trading on Taproot activation, though. I would push back.
Yeah, no, because what happens is it doesn't even matter.
It's not like there's a fork future derivative.
No, but Marty, the thing
that you could trade like Bcash was.
Marty, the thing is like, we're going to go over 90% and everyone's going to go on Twitter to try and get the engagement. And they're going to say Taproot, this privacy and scalability upgrade to Bitcoin is going to get passed at 90%. And then it's going to drop under, and then there's going to be FUD, and there's going to be a pump, and there's going to be a dump. And that's what happens.
How's this activation work? Once it gets, how long does that to stay over 90%? I thought it was once
it has to be for the difficulty period.
I thought it was trailing 2016 blocks. So let's get into that. Taproot.
I thought it was difficulty period, but maybe it's trailing 2016 blocks. But regardless, my point is, oh no, that would be different. I'm pretty sure it's the difficulty period. I'm
I
like
don't know.
99% sure it's the
Did you
difficulty
hear what I
period.
said when I was reading the dashboard? Like Clark's dashboard is doing 2016 blocks trailing. That's because if you do the percentage of this difficulty,
Ben the Carmen is saying it's difficulty period, Marty.
Is it?
Yeah.
Clark,
So
update your.
if it's difficulty period, which makes a lot more sense because of reorgs and whatnot, and that would make it really fucking confusing. The
Clark, you need to update your dashboard.
There's going to be fuckery around 90%. And sites like Taproot.watch are going to predict a 90% swing. They're going to predict at like 1,000 blocks in, they're going to predict Taproot is passing. And I'm not going to name the names of the accounts, but there's going to be a bunch of accounts that are going to tweet out Taproot is passing. We're going to have this fucking upgrade, and we're going to fucking pump on that news. And then the miners are going to flip and to make sure that we're underneath. And they're going to do that for a couple difficulty periods because it's free. It's free money. Their long-term game theory is that they need to improve Bitcoin. And I have complete belief that they will go along with Taproot. But in the meantime, they have a couple of free difficulty periods where they can fuck around. And they're going to claim, we don't have control of the full hash rate. Like some miners firmware isn't upgraded. Like there's a flip. They're going to have some kind of plausible, deniable reason why they flipped. But really, it's going to be because the pool operator is using inside information to trade the markets based on that signaling.
No, I'm not so sure that the Bitcoin price is going to move on Taproot signaling that much. But
we'll see.
I was wrong. Clark's dashboard is remember. I was wrong. I thought it was trailing. The freaks will remember. Yeah, so it doesn't look like it's going to happen this difficulty period. I don't know why I thought it was trailing, but yeah, it's locked in within the difficulty period. Yeah, and who knows? That's why you have the automatic. You have the November 12th user activated software, correct? Luke Dasher's implementation that you could run.
Well, no, it's October of next year, right?
No, I thought it started November 12th this year. Ben, let me know if I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure user activated isn't this fall, but continue.
Could be wrong. But yeah, no, I mean, so that you're bearish. So you think you're going to win the bet?
No, I don't think I'm going to win the bet. I just think miners are going to fuck around. That's what I'm trying to say.
Matt is right.
Is that's what the chat said?
Yeah.
I can't see the chat.
Yeah, you're right.
There we go. I love being right.
I know.
Stay humble, Matt.
I know you
do. All I'm saying is that the miners are gonna. You should assume miners are gonna fuck around, Marty. I'm sorry that you're a miner, but I just assume that miners are gonna fuck around and they're gonna use their privileged position to fuck around, and that's what they did last time. I expect them to do it this time. Period.
Nuance. Engage in nuance. Okay. Like this is not nearly as contentious as Bcash was. There was futures for a higher block size coin versus the SegWit chain last time around. That doesn't exist this time around. There's no futures markets to toggle with unless like FTX spins up a token.
You don't need a future market. You just trade Bitcoin.
But like again, like
up and down, bro.
I don't think people like most of the people buying Bitcoin right now, these institutions have no idea about Taproot or what's going on.
It doesn't matter. It's gonna get memed into existence for engagement. We're already seeing the Taproot shit get memed. Like if you were an early account to post that Taproot was over 50% activation of mining pools, you got over 1,000 likes the other day. And what? It hasn't been over 50% since then, but they got the engagement. They wanted the engagement. They create that pump.
You're talking to somebody who has an engagement horde on this.
But that's not what I'm saying. That's not my point. People will, they create the pump. They create the pump. This is bullish. This is bullish as fuck. Taproot's getting activated. Oh, wait, they flipped. It's not getting activated. And then we dump. And then we're going to do that a couple times, I think. That's all I'm saying. Maybe I have, a little bit of, maybe the history fucked me up a little bit, but it is what it is. That's what I expect. And I think it's healthy. It's healthy to assume that miners will fuck around with you and act in their best interest short term.
It's healthy to assume
trade the markets on their power that we're giving them.
It's healthy to assume that, but I don't think this has any power over the markets. I think it's going to get. I don't think the miners are going to fuck with it. But with that being said, there was an interesting data point or something to take into consideration that got highlighted by Alejandro at Poolin this week, which is one of their firmware, one of the firmwares they were running for one of their proxy nodes for their pool for Poolin wasn't compatible with like Taproot activation signaling. So they were signaling, unsignaling, and that was an issue with firmware. At least that's what Alejandro said. Allegedly.
So Marty, do you think Taproot is bullish if it's merged into Bitcoin? If it's activated?
I do, but I don't think. Again, I don't think the efficient.
So do you think it's already priced in? You think Taproot's already priced in?
No, I don't think I don't think it'd be priced in until like years after, when people start building software into wallet software that utilizes and leverages the functionalities that Taproot provides. That's when it'll be priced in.
What percentage of the market do you think believes that Taproot's going to be activated?
The better question is, what percentage of the market even knows that Taproot exists?
Yeah, what percent of the market even knows that Taproot exists?
5%.
Really? You think that much?
5% of Bitcoin owners. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Well, you think it's higher than that? You think it's higher than that?
I think it's significantly higher than that.
No way. My mom has no idea what Taproot is. My dad.
And your mom is not like 5% of the market.
There's 100 million people that own Bitcoin, and a lot of them are rich.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that don't own that much Bitcoin. They don't.
There's a lot of rich boomers who have no idea.
I'm talking about percentage of,
coins owned,
or like volume or something. I don't even know like how you would call it.
Let's take the Winklevi. Did the Winklevi even fucking know that Taproot's going on?
100%.
No way, dude. They didn't even fucking know.
They at least know a surface level. They know a surface level like Taproot good. I want Taproot.
I honestly don't think they do, dude. They don't give a shit.
Well, we'll see. We'll see, Marty.
We shall see.
It's my favorite part about this show.
We'll see. We have timestamps. We put this out there. We put our hearts on the line, freaks, for you. Should we go to shout outs since we forgot them last week?
Yeah, let's definitely fucking hit the shout outs. And I have a hard stop. I have a hard stop in a half hour. So we got
a half hour. Wow.
Yeah, bro.
I've never done this to you.
I know. I gave you a half hour notice at least.
Half hour. Damn.
Yeah, what is it? That'll be like a nice hour and 15-minute rip, right? Something like that.
I did. My mom has 900,000 Bitcoin. So we have to go past.
Did someone say that in the chat?
Yeah.
Well, your mom is fucking awesome. Good for her.
Okay, here we go. Hey, boys. The value of TFTC content is immeasurable. Thank you. I've been trying my darndest to familiarize myself with the Lightning Network, yet I can't seem to stumble upon just the right tutorial. So far, I have Zap connected to LND on my Nodal Dojo. This part was easy. This part was so easy that it was almost like magic. Now, I know that funding the Zap wallet is the next step. Then I think I should open a channel with someone, in parentheses, doesn't matter who, so that I will be connected with the Lightning Network. Right? Question mark. No. Question mark. Before I play around with this, I am trying to understand how I will get my funds back out and on chain. Excuse me. Is there a way to send Bitcoin to myself via Lightning and then close the channel so I'm basically get my Bitcoin minus fees right back? In other words, can I send myself via Lightning? Send to myself via Lightning? No, question mark. Also, if I can do this, does it in any way enhance the privacy of the resulting UTXO that I receive back to myself? Can you drop some Matt and Marty wisdom on me? Thank you again. From Feeling Dumb.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you're not dumb. Second of all, like, don't send us a shout out for this. Just like DM me about this question. I mean, I think what you should do is you should open a channel to like a large routing node. Consider stacking sats TFTC node, and then from there you can send it to Moon Wallet, and then Moon Wallet you can then convert it back to on-chain Bitcoin. And if you convert it back to on-chain Bitcoin, you will have the inbound balance That's the hack. But you can't just send it to yourself, otherwise you don't get anything. You have to send it through a third party, basically.
But the channel management, what other advice do we like? So if you open a channel with somebody, you have incoming liquidity, correct? Not outgoing.
No, the opposite.
Opposite. You have outgoing liquidity you can send, but you can't receive.
Right.
So if you want to receive Bitcoin, you have to go out there and basically find somebody who's willing to open a channel from them to you, and so that you can receive Bitcoin. So that's one thing you need to take into consideration. And this is a shout out we missed last week, so hopefully this freak's listening in anticipation for this week. But yeah, so that's one thing to take into consideration. Though there's a topic we're going to touch on after the shout outs that sort of mitigates this problem, but it's not a solution that's widespread yet, which is dual funded channel opens. So yeah, there's many things to take into consideration. Who to open with? You can reach out. You can DM Matt, who's in contact with the person who stole our node, and he'd happily open up a channel worth 500,000 sats. Is that what he's going for these days?
Yeah, 500,000 sats minimum.
That's sicko. You can reach out to me. I've got a node as well. I can reduce my minimum. That's a little too rich for you. But yeah,
Wait, your minimum's higher than 500,000 sats.
No, I said I can give you a lower minimum.
Okay.
If need be.
And
then closing. So when you close your channel, right? Like you close the channel. When you construct the channel open, it gives basically like a change address receipt. Correct? Is that how that works?
Well, it's like a multi-sig transaction. So when you close a channel, you're paying your on-chain fee. So the reason that people say like do a channel of a certain size, do at least 500,000 sats, which is on the lower end. A lot of people say do at least like a couple million sats.
Yeah, I'm a 3 million guy, to be honest.
Is because when it comes time for you to close the channel and settle it on chain, it could be in 5 years, 6 years. And at that point, who knows where fees are going to be? I expect fees are going to be significantly higher. And the larger your sats, the larger the amount of sats, the lower the percentage your fee is when you hit the chain, when you come back and hit the chain. So like really when you're talking about these things in terms of making lightning channels, in the beginning, sure, fuck around, play around, open, close, do all these things, play around with it. But long term, what you're looking for is partners that you can have these channels with for years. You're talking like 5, 6, 7 years. You don't want to hit the chain again. Every time you hit the chain, you're getting hit with fees.
Agreed. So beware, freak. Thank you for the question. If you have any follow-up questions on that, please feel free to DM us.
I just want to quickly just shout out ln.guide, which is by bjtcoinqna. So just if you go there, he's got a really good repository of lightning information for a beginner focused. And then if you go to mattodell.com, there is a resource there to OpenOM's is lightning node management. I think it's called lightning node management in my list. I don't know what his actual domain is, so I'm not going to show that. But if you go to mattodell.com, it's in my resource list, and you can go to lightning node management. He's got a really good Git book about that.
Yes. Beware, freaks. Next shout out. I think it's an ad, so I'm not going to read like the addy parts. I've been going back and forth with this guy in DMs. I'm like, dude, you sent me an ad. But he paid, so this was the second attempt too. Let me know if you received 2 Lightning Network payments. I did not. I only received 1. Conspiracies or amok. Will Michael Saylor sink his yacht at the $100,000 party to collect insurance, cuck bucks, and buy Bitcoin? If invited, bring your life jackets and private key, freaks. Athlenium is an app. It's like there's a Lightning Network predictions app. I think it's by Fiat Joff. I'll let him shill it if he listens to this. And
oh wait, if it's by Fiat Joff, you can just shill. Give him a free ad. What is his?
We just killed you, shitcoiners. Whoever started that shitcoin, I forgot her name. It's predictions.ethlenium.com. That's predictions bjtcoinqna.com. Basically a predictions market with Bitcoin, but I went into it. It's like pretty centralized. Like you need to trust.
It's 100% centralized. That's his point. It's
You
like
need to trust
it's
somebody.
the same thing as like Binance Smart Chain or whatever. It's like he's flexing that we could do this already if you just have a pseudonym run a centralized market for it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I appreciate him. I think he does great work. He has Ellen transaction bot on fucking Telegram.
He's not a fan of value for value for streaming sats. He thinks streaming sats is stupid though.
Well, if you stream sats through Telegram, consider it.
Speaking of streaming sats, if you guys want to listen to this via Sphinx and stream us sats, stream Citadel Dispatch sats, we've got our tribes there. Your tribe's pretty lively on Sphinx, bro.
Yeah, I mean, you inspired me. We're going hard over there.
I think we may have TFTC, Citadel Dispatcher, this week at least. I've been paying attention. The two most poppin'.
Love it.
Okay. All right. Next shout
My
out.
favorite was your decay at the end of the Assange episode.
Speaking of which, if you freaks haven't listened to that, go listen to it. Free Julian. Did you see the president of Azerbaijan getting interviewed?
I did not watch it, but I saw comments. Dude? I saw comments, but I didn't watch it. I was on the plane.
This is, I mean, it's beautiful, a poetic way. I believe is being interviewed by a British politician, or not British politician, a British journalist over what happened in Azerbaijan, the Azerbaijani-Armenian crisis that happened within the last 12 months. I can't speak to that at all. I'm not well abreast on the politics and that particular war within Azerbaijan. And I'm not sticking up for the president of Azerbaijan in any way, but I just thought it was beautiful how he caught this journalist in a catch-22 who was basically trying to call him out and saying that, like, you don't let dissidents speak up, you jail them, you don't have free speech in your country. And he was like, don't come here and fucking lecture me on this shit. Like, what about Julian Assange? Like, you people in the Western world claim to be all about free speech, free press, freedom of association, yet you have Julian Assange hostage in the United Kingdom because he exerted his right to free press and basically highlighted some objective truths that were going on in the name of American taxpayers. So we don't have a free press here. We don't have a free society. Matthew, are we free? I'm going to answer it for you. No, we're not.
I mean, I have not watched it, but I would push back that, there are definitely shades of gray here, right? There are, we do have one of the most free press.
We're hypocrites. We're hypocrites, dude. Don't say that. Don't rationalize this.
Well, no, I'm not rationalizing it. I'm just, kind of telling, the authoritarian in Azerbaijan to go fuck himself a little bit.
Yes, no, that's what I wanted to preface it with, is like, but that's the thing. When you don't have a free press, you let these authoritarians, these dictators, basically catch you in a catch-22. It's like, you are no better than me.
This is why I don't block anybody.
I block a lot.
Because if I block one or two people, then the rest can say, well, you're no worse than the scammer that blocks you preemptively because you just block them. So I don't block anybody.
I don't think blocking is as
it's a similar concept, Marty.
I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as putting people in jail for reporting on stuff.
I mean, but it's the same concept of you have to hold yourself to a higher standard, because if you don't hold yourself to a higher standard, then it's very hard to critique others because they have these easy.
I don't critique people for blocking.
Gotcha things. Okay.
I advise you to block people liberally.
But all the scammers do it as well.
That's true. That's true.
There's very popular accounts that just immediately block me when they join Twitter to make sure that I don't say anything.
Amen. You're blocked by Amen?
I'm blocked by many a large account.
Me as well.
Including the Andre Brent.
Yeah. What is that account? Like, is he like mocking me? Is it like
I think he's mocking you, but he also blocked you, right? So that's,
Yeah. Yeah, apparently there's an account out there. He's got like a daily newsletter. Shitcoiner. Don't care. Next shout out. I think you're gonna like this one. All caps. Matt Odell has a duck mentality from Vake.
Vake is always, innovating, and it's just impressive, but duck mentality is by far the best mentality to have. Duck is a delicious poultry.
Wait until you hear this one. Matt Odell has a truck mentality from Vake.
There we go.
Is it better than duck? Would you prefer to be a duck or a truck?
Oh, definitely a truck. I mean, that sounds like a compliment. Duck mentality sounds like attack.
Well, stop giving all these the best. Here's the next one. Matt Odell has a hockey puck mentality.
Vake. I still like truck. Truck mentality is the best.
All right.
Did Vake sent us 3 mentality shout outs in a row
this week? Shout out Vake. Love you, Vake.
What a boss.
He is a boss. He's down there. Vake's just swooping up people in Florida, baby. Sweeping ladies off the Orlando beaches, even though it's inland. He's down there. Crushing. Hello, gentlemen. I'm sending this as I drink a beer on my last official day of work for an altcoin project. Shout out to you. In a couple of weeks, I'll be starting a new job at a company that builds directly on top of Bitcoin. There's a lot I want to share with my Bitcoin friends, but Bitcoin has taught me a lot about privacy, protecting mine and respecting yours. I have one message for the freaks out there. Stay humble. Stack sats. I like that one. Congrats on getting out of altcoin purgatory.
That's a shout out I could get behind.
Right. All right. Last but not least. Whew. Hi, guys. Been following TFTC for years now, and especially RHR, which I don't think I've ever missed out on since discovering it. Every week, I look forward to tuning in, hearing the two of you banter, and catch up on the world of Bitcoin. Both of you have been largely responsible for my maximalist tendencies and the humble profits I have made along the way. So I figured it was my time to make my small contribution to the show. Thank you, sir. I do, however, want to squeeze every sat out of this shout out, so I have the following query. Can you point me toward resources that would help me understand how protocol changes are proposed and implemented? Who reviews them? Who is allowed to change the source code? How does one end up being allowed to implement changes? This is an area, etc. This is an area I am shamefully ignorant about and need to remedy. Thank you for all that you do. Stay humble and stack sats. Mill. P.S. Please, can you tell my best mates, Jim and Thomas, to stop trading shitcoins? All my efforts have failed so far. So I'll start. Jim and Thomas, I'm not going to tell you stop trading shitcoins. It's like a losing battle. That's why we say stay humble, stack sats.
Jim and Thomas, many people have tried to trade shitcoins and have ended up losing more Bitcoin than if they had just stay humble and stack sats. But I would say to you that if you're going to be a shitcoiner, at least be a proper shitcoiner, hold your own keys, and use your own node.
Agreed there. All right. In terms of the meat of this shout out, the question behind it, where can you find Bitcoin improvement proposals? You can find them on Bitcoin's GitHub page, github.bitcoin/Bitcoin. And the BIP should live somewhere in that repository. And a BIP stands for Bitcoin Improvement Proposal. That was instituted by Luke Dasher back in the day, way back in the day. And so basically to get things added into the Bitcoin core protocol specifically, somebody proposes a BIP. Hey, here's a Bitcoin. Well, first they propose an idea. Say, here's an idea I have to insert into Bitcoin that I think would be advantageous. People, developers in the open source community on that GitHub page on github.com/Bitcoin/Bitcoin. Basically look at the proposal, usually starts on the mailing list actually, and say, hey, this may be a good idea. Like, let's assign it a BIP. The maintainers assign it a BIP number, and then maintainers, that word gets into who actually adds the code and merges the code into Bitcoin Core. We'll talk about Bitcoin Core specifically just for the intention of this shout out. So you have lead maintainers, Vladimir, who else is a lead maintainer right now? Marco Falke, I believe Fanquake got added as a...
Yeah, Fanquake's
a maintainer.
But I mean, the number one thing, and first of all, NVK is, I just opened the chat on my phone and I see NVK is telling people to block me. You weak motherfuckers. You can block me all you want, but I'm still watching. I got my incognito. I can see you. The I think the important thing for people to realize, for the freaks to realize, is that ultimately you're in charge of running your own node and using your own node. And when it comes time to upgrade, you're choosing whether or not you upgrade to the next software. And Bitcoin by design does not have auto updates, so that you'll never get a notification unless you're running some kind of malicious software that says you have to update to this newest software, otherwise you're not going to be able to use Bitcoin. And or even worse, not even notification, just like it updates you automatically. That'll never happen with Bitcoin. That is by design. It takes a user to actively upgrade to new rules if rules are going to change. And on that note, I mean, obviously the ideal is that every user is able to read code and like see any changes that happen. But ultimately, even if you're not, it as a Bitcoin stakeholder, it behooves you to be in tune with what changes are being made and making a educated decision whether or not you want to run new software. And you're going to have to make that decision, and there's no easy answer there. That is a personal responsibility thing. That's why we're all here. That'll always be more difficult, but ultimately what it comes down to is that every user is going to have to upgrade this thing on their own, of their own volition. And because of that, you have a system that is very resistant to change. Contentious changes are hard to push through the system, and that is basically one of the main value props of Bitcoin.
Opt in. It's opt in, freaks. You don't have to accept it. But I thought this was a very good question for any noobs out there. How do changes get added into Bitcoin? Typically starts on the mailing list. Somebody's like, hey, I've got this idea, which you go to Linux Foundation mailing list. There's Bitcoin-dev, which is where most of the individuals working on Bitcoin congregate on a mailing list, Bitcoin Core specifically, to talk about developments on the network. Somebody will have an idea there. There'll be discussion in an email thread, usually on Bitcoin Dev. And then the mailing list will say, all right, like make a BIP about this, like move it to GitHub, and then we'll have the process which the open source community acts or nacks it, acknowledges that it's a good update or negs it that it's not a good update. And then from there, you can get like a signed BIP number. And somebody, a freak in the comments, corrected me. It was Amir Taki who introduced the Bitcoin improvement proposal process, which is correct. I believe that was for P2SH as well. I believe Luke Dasher assigns the BIP numbers. Yeah, you're getting blocked all over the place, dude.
Even on the accounts I don't own.
All right, that was a shout out for the week. Thank you, freaks, for the shout outs. If you guys are listening to this on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. If you're watching live on Periscope or Twitter, please retweet. If you guys want to contribute, add shout outs, you can go to tftc.io/contribute. We love shout outs, favorite part of our show. And Matt, are you really fucking leaving me in like 5 minutes?
We got 10 minutes.
Damn, diva over here.
Dude,
Diva.
we used to back in our heyday, RHR was like a tight hour.
What do you freaks like? Tight hour?
I mean, I think the important thing for the freaks to realize is that we've gone over 2.5 years of every week straight coming to the freaks. So I do apologize if this is a little bit short, but I think the important thing to realize is that I landed, and the first thing I did was make sure I got a solid internet connection, set up the mic, set up the headphones, and I'm here with you freaks. So I love you all. And this is why we do what we do.
Agreed. I'm just pulling your chain here. Whoa. BISC premium just jumped. Is that a leading indicator? Are we going to go to 62.5? What should we do? Should we do quick software updates?
Yeah, let's hit them with the software updates first, and then let's keep going after that till we hit my.
We're not going to read any release notes. Bitcoin Core version 0.21.1 has been released. New multisig guide from our boy bjtcoinqna has been released. Bitcoiner.guide/multisig. This month in Bitcoin privacy from our girl Janine has been released. April's privacy updates. Blue Wallet version 6.1.0 has been released. Umbrel version 03.10 has been released. Phoenix version 1.4.11 has been released. And that is the software updates. And at the end of the software updates, I want to give a personal shout out to Janine, who is the individual that connected us with Gabriel Shipton, Julian Assange's brother, and helped coordinate that episode.
She's awesome.
She really is.
And she's also a fellow board member for OpenSats.
Oh shit, dude! How do you not have this on the list? Let's talk about it.
This has been a long time coming. We've been looking forward to this for a very long time. The OpenSats initiative. The vision is a pleb-focused initiative where plebs can provide funding to open source devs, free and open source devs. And a lot of them will be Bitcoin focused, but it'll also be like tertiary stuff to Bitcoin, not shitcoins, but like not Signal because they're super funded, or Tor, but something like that, right? Like communications and networking and hardware and all these different things that are around Bitcoin, including Bitcoin stuff. And it'll be a way for us to kind of like weaponize the plebs. Like, let's weaponize the plebs for good. And we're doing it in a full 501c3. So it's non-for-profit if you're in America. It's 100% pass through. So literally no one on the board is taking any money. No one's getting paid. And all funds are held in Bitcoin and all grants are given in Bitcoin. So my vision is basically, and why I joined is this idea that if we could get every pleb to give $25 a month, $50 a month, automatic through their credit card, and we'll dollar cost average it for you. When you pay us, we'll just automatically convert that into sats. And then we'll hold that as sats, and then we'll contribute that out as sats. If we could get, 1,000, 2,000 plebs at that $50 level a month, then we don't have to worry about going to corporations and going to exchanges and going to all these different KYC exchanges and trying to get funds from them. If we have this solid base, we can then provide that out to all these different free open source projects that we care so much about. So it's super exciting to finally get a soft launch here. And we're going to start accepting contributions pretty soon. Right now we have the site up. It's opensats.org. But yeah, I'm just really excited about it.
Proud of you, brother. I know you've been working on this behind the scenes for some time now. And I completely co-sign and endorse what you guys are doing. I mean, that's behind the scenes. One of the big questions, like, are these corporations funding all these devs? Is it just an attack vector, a spook vector to control Bitcoin? I don't think so. But if you want to enter the game theoretical funding game and give the plebs some leverage and have at least a curb on it in case that is true, and this is the perfect way. So opensats.org, correct?
Correct. And to be clear, like, we do have some of the best companies in Bitcoin are contributing to this effort as well. But me personally, and just to name a few, we have CoinKite, we have Nodl, we have Ledger, we have BottlePay. They're all contributing to this launch effort. John Pfeffer's contributing. So we have a lot of contributors that I'm very happy about. But ultimately, what I want to see is I really like this idea of having like a pleb initiative. Like I think that's like, I think it's something that a lot of us have wanted, but they haven't had like the venue to do it through, and I think this can provide that, and I'm pretty excited to see where it goes.
Yes, and there's nothing going on with Bitcoin Dev List too. That's still going as well. If you want to,
Bitcoin Dev List is completely
directly
separate. That's like they're hosting their own BTC Pay server. They're getting paid directly. So with this, it's going to be like kind of a combination. So So we will focus devs and we'll focus projects, and you can go onto the website and you're going to be able to choose if I want to earmark, to this dev or to this project. But then there'll also be a general fund. And what I expect to happen is a lot of the contributions are just going to go to the general fund. And then the general fund is going to be decided where that goes is going to be decided on the board. We have a 9-person board. It's me, Elaine, Udi, James O'Byrne. Like we have a powerhouse board, Janine, powerhouse board. So I'm really excited about that aspect because I do think a lot of people don't know they want to contribute, but they don't know where they want it to go. But if they want it to go directly to the developer, and if you are a developer, I encourage you, go sign up on Bitcoin Dev List. You should also sign up on OpenSats.org. But if you want to contribute directly to the developer and you don't care about tax deduction, you'll always be better off going to bitcoindevlist.com because you'll be able to contribute directly to them with no pass-through. But if you care about the tax deduction, you still want to support a direct to a contributor, then you can do that through us. We'll give you the tax deduction. We'll pass it through to the recipient. But then we are acting as a middleman, right? Like the organization is acting as a middleman.
Yeah, you're trusting the organization to distribute the funds in a way in which you think would be advantageous. TFTC will be DCAing into this fund every month. Well, we're going to be setting up a recurring donation. Encourage you all to do it. Good segue into the next segment, which is about Bitcoin Beach. Again, we talked about it a little bit last week, but officially launched this week, which is their initiative. Our good friend Miles Suter is leading this charge to basically raise funds in honor of Catherine Diaz, the professional surfer who was tragically killed by a lightning strike in El Zante, El Salvador. Miles, the Bitcoin Beach crew, are raising funds to build a new center in El Zante, a training center in Catherine's name. Again, I'm not trying to blow smoke up our own ass here, but TFTC will be contributing to these efforts too. We encourage you to do the same. We will be putting $5,000 worth of sats towards this endeavor. I'm sending those tomorrow. So if you guys are interested in supporting a good Bitcoin community in El Salvador, I highly recommend you do that as well. Matt, how much time do we have with you? You're hot commodity right now.
I love you all. This is a very important topic, and I think it's very. I want to encourage all the freaks to donate. It's really a shame what happened, and I have a lot of respect for the guys at Bitcoin Beach and Miles Suter, who's operating over there, and Jack Mahlers, who's also participating. Together, Cash App and Strike are working on, bringing as many donations as possible into this fund. I think they're targeting 10 Bitcoin to secure the land, build the facility, and then maintain the facility afterwards indefinitely. And this will be a surfing facility for the whole national team, which doesn't have a facility currently. So I think it's a very good cause. She seems like a very beautiful person, and it's really a shame that what happened to her. So I'm very happy that we are contributing. We will be giving 10 million sats to this cause, and I think that's really important. And I encourage all of you to do as well, or give something. Like, I don't encourage you to give 10 million sats. I understand if that is a little bit rich for your blood.
Yeah, they've already got Cash App's donating $100,000. I saw Francis Paulette is donating, I believe, 10 million sats as well. People are hopping on this. If you're a surfer, if you're a Bitcoiner, it's a great cause. What's going on down at Bitcoin Beach in El Zante is, I'm picking it up. They're putting it down. I'm picking it up. I'm liking it. I like what's going on there. They're getting a city ingratiated with Bitcoin, and it seems like the people of El Zante, at least what is being reported from Bitcoin Beach, are picking up on it. So something you'll love to see. And as a surfer myself, and having been to these surf towns. Like, there's nothing that would give me more joy than to support this. So if you're thinking about it, do it. Do it. I need 10. You need a trillion sats. Not trillion, billion. Billion sats. My sats conversion is way off, Matthew.
Yeah, 10 Bitcoin is Satoshi billionaire.
What do you pick the last? You're the diva right now. I'll let you.
We got to talk about Cash App. Cash App's fucking killing it.
Cash App, $3.51 billion of revenue in Q1 2021 and $75 million of profit off that revenue, which is pretty insane. Compare that to Q4 2020, which was 1.76 billion and $41 million in profit. That's literally double the volume. And
you really can't complain. You really can't complain about the fees, at least on Cash App, if that's all they're making. 3.5 billion, right?
Right? Yeah, 3.5 billion. You're only making 75 mil. You can't.
We can complain about the limits. The limits are fucked, but we can't complain about the fees. The fees, I guess, seem reasonable if they're only making 75 billion off.
Since this is public information, I feel comfortable saying this right now. But I tweeted out earlier. Lyle Pratt tweeted under my like Cash App tweet. He was like, "Yeah, this is great and all, but like, what about the withdrawal limits? It's going to take people a long time to withdraw from Cash App." Quote tweeted that like, "Cash App, please, like you need to pump your withdrawal limits, please, sir." Jack liked the tweet. Maybe they're thinking about it. Maybe they're thinking.
We know everyone at Cash App wants. I don't think there's anyone at Cash App that's against raising the limits. Yeah. I think they're working on it from a risk and compliance point of view. But I mean, it is kind of ironic. Like I was saying to a friend, I was like, every time the price dumps, you should withdraw. You know, it's just like the price dumps. You like go. You should stack the dip, but then while you're stacking the dip, you should withdraw.
I got my hand up. I'm withdrawing sats from the Cash App.
Every time the dip happens, when the dip happens, you have to rush there because the limits are in fucking dollars instead of sats.
We know they're working on it. They know it's an issue.
I think they're obviously, disclosure. They're a sponsor of the Cash App. They're a sponsor of this podcast. And Marty read like a big ad read in the beginning of this episode. I think it's important to realize. I think it's important to realize that this is like a very retail focused company, right? So seeing this kind of growth to me is really
per user Bitcoin buys on that's pretty insane. Or the amount of users buying on Cash App as opposed to OTC Desk, maybe even Coinbase. Like Cash App's the biggest number one finance app in the country right now, correct?
I mean, they are on the Apple App Store. They're the number one finance app on the App Store. But my point is like these are like average people just stacking, you know, and to see this number increase, is fucking great.
It doubled quarter on quarter, doubling. That's insane.
And that's what we want to see. Volume. Stackers at the floor.
It's USD volume too. It's not Bitcoin volume. If it was Bitcoin volume, it'd be insane. But it's like people have been buying more and more in USD, which is like first quarter. So like when did the first quarter end? March 30th. Or was the price? The price was at like 60,000 then. That's when it started coming down, right? We've been in this consolidation phase.
I don't know. This is stacker's paradise right now.
It really is, dude.
I'm trying to get as much fiat as possible right now to just convert it over to Bitcoin. Just mine and fiat as much as possible. Let's fucking go.
Dogecoin's taking over, dude.
What Dogecoin?
Bitcoin's dead, dude. You didn't hear?
Well, like it's not your Dogecoin if you're not running your own Doge node and holding your own Doge keys. So consider that. If Robinhood's holding your shit, then you just have an IOU. Marty, I have time for one more topipic. What do you want to cover?
I was thinking Coinbase transparency report. I think you'd like that one too.
I agree.
So Coinbase, this is like one of the saving graces of Coinbase. Would you agree?
They've started doing these transparency reports, which I think Kraken really led the way with it.
Yeah.
And yes, this is like massive. I appreciate them being transparent about this shit.
Yeah. So Coinbase, Kraken, they do these transparency reports where they basically release blog posts that say, hey, here's the requests we've gotten from governments about our users over the last year. Begs the question, Matt, are we free? Are we free? So there were a total. So this was between the period July 1st, 2020 and December 31st. It was only a 6-month period, 2020. Total received requests from government agencies at Coinbase was 2,313. Key takeaways: there were a total of 4,227 requests in 2020. 54% of those requests were made during the second half of the year. Similar to the first half of 2020, 90% of the requests come from the US, the UK, and Germany. So let's just go to the breakdown. Law enforcement information requests ranking: US number 1 at 1,197, UK number 2 at 597, Germany number 3 at 260, and then it falls off to France at 69. Nice request. The FBI is by far the biggest requester with 362. That's 30.2% of the requests that Coinbase received in the second half of 2020. And it basically just highlights that these agencies, intelligence agencies, specifically in the US, are aggressively asking Coinbase for more information, because they don't like the US citizens. They don't. I don't even think I could say they don't like that US citizens have privacy, because I think this is proof that they don't have privacy through requesting this. But it's proof that we don't live in a free country. America's not free. We live in a surveillance state. And the FBI fucking hates you.
Yeah. I mean, it should be alarming to any American that thinks that we should be a positive representation for the rest of the world when they see how many requests are America versus the rest. Like it's insane difference. What is it? It's like 50% or like 40% is American requests.
50. Right on the dot. It's fucking disgusting.
But I think the most important thing for people to realize is, KYC is basically forever. Like these companies are required to keep all of this information on you forever. And for whatever it's worth, the blockchain is forever. The Bitcoin blockchain is something that we expect to exist long past all of these KYC records. And these records are going to exist past our grandkids, past our great grandkids in perpetuity, if we are correct. And when you mix those two together, you get a very personal look into someone's finances. And I just really don't think people are aware of how much that is the case when they're transacting on these platforms.
Be aware. PTJ, Paul Tudor Jones, is in the comments of RHR right now, and he just brought up the fact that Kraken was also accosted by the IRS to hand over details on any customers of Kraken that transacted with more than $20,000 worth of Bitcoin between 2016 and 2020.
So everybody.
Right. Like literally, if you bought one $250 Bitcoin in 2016 and you just held it, like, does that justify the IRS pulling your information?
Yes. Oh, I mean, I don't know if it justifies, but they are.
Yes. Yeah. Does that basically meet the threshold for them to pull your information?
It sounds like yes, Marty. If you haven't withdrawn it yet, it sounds like yes.
We don't live in a free country, freaks. These people want to control you. They hate you. They don't like that you're succeeding. They don't like that you're making money outside the US dollar reserve system. They don't like you. They think you're dumb. They think you're stupid. They think you should be poor because they think they're better than you. Fuck these people.
But on a more optimistic note, we're going to fucking win.
Yes, we're definitely going to win, but exactly because fuck these people. These people are evil. They are. They're demons. They're turning the frogs gay. Sorry, Matthew. What do we got in tap for tonight? What are we doing? Nice dinner?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good night. I'm excited. No, this is great. This was a good rip. I love y'all. I love you, Marty.
I love you.
I look forward to seeing you soon in Miami. And I really do think that this is like this range, this like 50 to 60K range, to me,
Tight.
it really does. It feels like Stacker's Paradise. Like this feels like a fucking cheat code. Like I have never been more bullish, which means wait, you have sound effects now?
That was
I
the
didn't know
wrong
you
one.
had
That was the wrong one. I was going for it.
Boomer Marty tries to showcase his new sound effects and chooses the complete wrong one. I mean, it's either we dump or we just go crazy, and I am like insanely bullish right now. So
I'm insanely bullish too.
cheers to all y'all. I hope you're staying humble and stacking sats because that's what I'm doing.
Yes, him as well. Freaks, we're gonna win. We have humanity on our side. Like people will actually have human feelings. Actually, like get empathy in thinking for your fellow man and thinking of the common man. More importantly, God, I fucking hate. I hate the state. I hate the state. Let's end it on that. Peace and love, freaks. Sticky.